But the euro has devalued by almost 30%, 13% in a matter of 4 weeks.
Yes.
It was $1.52 to the euro, and now it is $1.34.
Yes.
So there is a serious devaluation which has taken place.
So in that sense, already from that point of view, the euro had to go down. And then obviously this lack of common policy on the EU side for a couple of weeks has also been an important factor.
We're going to open it for questions from the end. There are microphones here. Please feel free to put up your hand, and somebody will come with a microphone. And Mr. Scorza, will you take charge of who? In case you will.
And if you would speak directly into the microphone and also say who you are.
My name is and I'm concerned the name of this is European problems and prospects. At this point in time, should we be thinking globally, thinking that we should have some global regulations, some global ideas, because the United States can't carry the burden and shouldn't carry the burden. So there must be some way in this world that we have instant communication and everything else, we have to act globally. And I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Go ahead.
Shall I respond, Director? Yes, I fully agree with you. And that's why it is so important, in our view, from the European point of view, the multilateral institutions. That's why we think that the UN, which is not always very popular in the US, or that the financial institutions, etc., are extremely important. Because we need, precisely because we have a globalized economy and a globalized world, we need also to have a world which is globally rule-based. And that we need a number of minimum rules that apply to the whole world. And we need the mechanisms to deal with the difficulties and the problems when they arise. It is not necessarily the case that we always need to have the same kind of regulation to solve one issue or another. But we need to have the system to deal with the problem and make even different regulations be compatible in a specific moment, or be able to take a specific measure at a given moment. In order to have that, you need to have universal bodies in which decisions can be taken. And that can only be found in the multilateral system, which might be quite imperfect, and certainly is, but is at the same time a fundamental tool without which we could not do anything.
But if I could add that the responsibility to find a global solution is obvious, but then there is also, or there was a responsibility to have a global approach before creating the problem. And the problem was not created globally, it was created unilaterally. And so you cannot have a unilateral creation of a problem and then ask for a global solution to a problem. There is an inconsistency there.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. I have a question for Ambassador Valenzuela. My name is Taddeo Pietro Taddeo. I'm an MBA student here at Paralympics. So my question is, what is your opinion about the possibility for the euro currency to replace the US dollar in the future as a mean of payment for the oil supply in the world, giving consideration for the late Russia arguing somewhere US ability to lead the economy, and without mentioning expressly Iran war, Venezuela war, pushing for this solution?
Yes. Take my answer as with a certain precaution, because I'm not a specialist on monetary issues. So I'm going to speak more from a political perspective or a more globally economic perspective. Sincerely, I don't think that the euro is going to take the place of the dollar as international, currency, safe haven, or whatever. Perhaps to a certain extent, in a certain percentage, which has already happened. And in fact, the euro already now, I don't remember now exactly the percentage that has been reached, but there is a percentage that didn't exist before, in which different countries have now put part of their reserves on euros. That's the case of China, that's the case of some other countries, etc. But we'll never, in my view, never in the foreseeable future, I mean, who knows in 60 years, replace the dollar for a number of reasons. Among them, one, which I mentioned before from another perspective, is the fact that the difference between being one country or being a group of countries, which means that the European Union is not in a position to ensure the same rapidity, coherence, capacity to forecast in terms, for instance, of fiscal policy and the monetary policy. So you will have always there a certain difference. And the euro will continue to be, to a certain extent, more a basket of currencies, which do no longer exist, but I don't know if you understand what I'm meaning by this, more a basket of currencies than an actual currency with all that implies in terms of that you have your own reserves, you have your own fiscal policy on top of your monetary policy, etc. So I don't think that the euro as it is right now is fit to take the place of the dollar, and in that respect, and certainly I don't think it would be good for Europe either. So I don't think that there is any wish on the European side to do that. But certainly I think, as we have witnessed in the last years, the euro is going to become, in certain cases, an alternative to the dollar, well, depending on the fluctuations of the economy, etc., etc. But no much more than that. At least that's my opinion.
Yes, but the question is still very valid, because if you were an oil producer or a commodities producer, and you were selling that commodity, you want to have safeguards for the money that you're going to get in exchange. And I think you would hesitate to accept payment completely in dollars. So you want to spread the risk. And part of the spread may be to go into partly euros, partly dollars. Part of it may be to go partly into gold. And that's why you see the price of gold going up. Part of it may be to ask for a payment in Ben & Jerry's ice cream, which will be a safe bet, because the price of ice cream will always go up, even if the dollar goes down. So if you are an oil producer, ask for payment in ice cream in future.
If you have questions for the ambassador, please keep your hands up. And here, you first, please.
Sorry, my name is Robert Hu. I'm a professor here at Fairleigh Dickinson. Given the colonial past between Europe and Africa, an argument can be made that Europe has a historical responsibility for the African continent, and yet another argument can be made that the European Union's agricultural policy is doing more to harm the continent than anything else. Is there any move to address this issue?
Sorry, I didn't understand. Well, which policy?
Common agricultural policy.
Common agricultural. Sorry, agricultural. Yeah. Yes, I mean, the common agricultural policy obviously is always a very delicate matter. We certainly are aware of certain negative implications of the common agricultural policy. We recognize that, and we are quite ready to try to tackle those. But of course, we have to do it in the right framework. The right framework is the world level. There are certain things that you cannot solve unilaterally.